She's Kellyanne Conway, pollster, GOP activist, and President Donald Trump's former campaign manager turned counselor. But how much do you really know about her? Here's the truth about Kellyanne Conway. Way before President Trump and the White House, Conway worked in a much different field, as in literally a field. At the age of 12, she received a special farm worker permit to pursue a job in hand packing up to 300 crates per day of blueberries at a farm outside of Atlantic City, New Jersey. By 1987, she was so skilled at packing blueberries that she entered into a blueberry speed packing contest, which she managed to win, in true political fashion after a recount. She was also runner-up at a Blueberry Queen beauty pageant. Apparently, Conway has always been ambitious. The White House counselor's mom, Diane Fitzpatrick, backed this up when she described her daughter's response to daycare at age 3. Fitzpatrick recalled to the press of Atlantic City, "She went 1 week and said, 'I'm not going back. All they do is play all day.'" The secret to Conway's determination might have been something to do with her temperament. As her childhood friend described to the outlet, saying, "She doesn't have a stress level. I have never seen her to feel stressed, personally or professionally. She is always someone you can count on." It's safe to say the political aide essentially needs to keep her cool 24/7 in the current political climate, so it's a good thing she's immune to stress. Some people reportedly call Conway the Trump whisperer, according to The New Yorker, which is interesting considering she hasn't completely succeeded in getting the president to back down from his controversial statements and Twitter rants. But it's possible she was successful in softening his image with women in the weeks leading up to the election. According to the Washington Post, exit polls showed that 61% of white women with no college degree voted for the real estate mogul over Democratic opponent Hillary Clinton in the 2016 presidential election. So how does she manage to control Trump? Child psychology, of course. As parents of young children know, it's usually more effective to offer kids choices than try and tell them what to do. Conway illustrated that point to the Washington Post with an anecdote about her daughter wanting to wear turquoise instead of blue on Memorial Day. And the publication said she uses the same methods to communicate with Trump, which are never command. That could insult him. Always make suggestions backed with information in 10-second sound bites. Conway and her husband George Conway have reportedly been involved in lawsuits and other attacks directed at Bill and Hillary Clinton for decades. Kellyanne, for instance, has attacked the Clintons as a conservative commentator on TV shows for years. As for George, according to the New York Times, he unofficially worked on Paula Jones's sexual misconduct case against President Clinton and even participated in a practice argument with Jones's legal team, which argued before the Supreme Court that a sitting president could still face a civil lawsuit while in office. The court agreed, paving the way for the infamous Jones trial to go forward. That trial subsequently gave us the Monica Lewinsky scandal and the eventual impeachment proceeding. Ironically, the precedent set by the legal decision means that Trump can now be taken to court for any of the dozens of pending lawsuits he's faced since taking office. Still, Kellyanne denies any further obsession with Hillary.
We don't care about her. Nobody here talks about her. Hey, Chris, nobody here talks about Hillary Clinton, I promise you.
Kellyanne Conway reportedly met Donald Trump in 2006 when she was a resident of Trump World Tower in Manhattan. She even served on the condominium board and told the Washington Post, "Trump seemed surprisingly hands-on, showing up at meetings to hear the residents' concerns." Trump and Conway stayed in touch, and Trump reportedly called his new pal occasionally to ask her opinion on various issues. Obviously, that relationship continued to deepen, with the two even spending time together outside of work. Then, in early December 2016, President-elect Trump and Conway attended a costume party on Long Island. While Trump didn't wear a costume, he was spotted posing with the mom of two who was dressed as Superwoman. Although some might view this friendship as sweet, there are other people who think Conway goes too far in protecting her boss and pal. Case in point, Conway's husband George despises Trump and has reportedly been telling people his wife is in a cult, as Vanity Fair reported. To put it mildly, George Conway and his wife's boss, President Trump, do not get along. George even went on the Skullduggery podcast in November 2018 to implicate Trump for ruining the Republican Party, stating, "I don't feel comfortable being a Republican anymore. I think the Republican Party has become something of a personality cult."
This assertion that the president is truthful is beyond belief.
Then in October 2019, he published a scathing op-ed in The Atlantic against the president, titled Unfit for Office. Of course, Trump isn't a fan of the lawyer's jabs. In March 2019, Trump tweeted, "George Conway, often referred to as Mr. Kellyanne Conway by those who know him, is very jealous of his wife's success and angry that I, with her help, didn't give him the job he so desperately wanted. I barely know him, but just take a look. A stone-cold loser and husband from hell."
He's a whack job, there's no question about it, but I really don't know him.
The bitterness between Trump and George has supposedly put a strain on Kellyanne's marriage, and a source told Vanity Fair it's not going to get better until she's cast out of the cult. George has since formed a super PAC against Trump's re-election bid, and Kellyanne is still loyal to her employer. When President Trump originally approached Kellyanne about a position in his campaign in March 2015, she reportedly turned him down and opted to work for a super PAC on behalf of then Republican presidential candidate and Texas Senator Ted Cruz. During her time there, the PAC launched attack ads against Trump, including one that supposedly claimed Donald Trump supported universal health care. As PolitiFact noted, Conway also bashed Trump directly on CNN in February 2016.
He says he's for the little guy, but he's actually built a lot of his businesses on the backs of the little guy.
And in another interview, she wished for Trump to be more transparent with his elusive tax returns.
It's completely transparent. Donald Trump's tax returns aren't. I'd like to see those be transparent.
After Cruz's Republican primary bid fell apart, Conway came aboard as the advisor for Trump in July 2016, eventually replacing Paul Manafort as Trump's campaign manager. That was because Manafort was sidelined over allegations of secret payments from pro-Russian groups in the Ukraine, according to the Washington Post. There have been many unflattering portrayals of Conway throughout the years, especially when it concerns her supposed duplicity. Morning Joe co-host Mika Brzezinski brought this to the public's attention in May 2017, accusing the White House counselor of playing two sides while trying to promote then-candidate Donald Trump on her show. According to the Washington Post, Brzezinski claimed at the time, she would get off the air, the camera would be turned off, the microphone would be taken off, and she would say, "Blah, I need to take a shower," because she disliked her candidate so much.
We know for a fact she tries to book herself on this show. I won't do it because I don't believe in fake news or information that is not true.
Author Cliff Sims, who published Team of Vipers, My 500 Extraordinary Days in the Trump White House in January 2019, echoed a similar sentiment about Conway in his book. After observing the commentator during his behind-the-scenes time in the White House, he wrote, "Kellyanne was playing a double game, putting a foot in both worlds, telling Trump and his supporters on Fox one thing while bad-mouthing them to the mainstream media in private. It became hard to look long at her without getting the sense that she was a cartoon villain brought to life." According to the author Michael Wolff's January 2018 book, Fire and Fury Inside the Trump White House, few folks on the Trump campaign, including President Trump, thought he was actually going to win. Wolff claimed that on Election Day 2016, Conway allegedly spent the day making calls to her political allies, blaming what she believed to be an impending loss on former White House Chief of Staff Reince Priebus and planning ahead for a potential future job in cable news. Wolff wrote, Conway briefed some of the television producers and anchors with whom she'd built strong relationships and with whom actively interviewing in the last few weeks. She was hoping to land a permanent on-air job after the election. Whether or not this is true, it's important to note Wolff wasn't afraid to ask Conway the tough questions right to her face. In April 2017, they engaged in a public discussion held at the Newseum where Wolff essentially told Conway that the media viewed her as an adversary.
I'm going to tell you, when they say democracy dies in darkness, you're the darkness.
I'm not the darkness.
President Trump isn't the first controversial politician Conway has dealt with. In 2012, she was working for the campaign of Missouri Congressman Todd Akin, who essentially screwed up his political aspirations when he made an uninformed comment about human biology, specifically pregnancy, to KTVI.
If it's a legitimate rape, the female body has ways to try to shut that whole thing down.
Akin's statement drew outrage for a variety of reasons, but Conway, at the time a consultant for the Akin campaign, defended him with an uncomfortable metaphor. In an interview with the Conservative Family Research Council, Conway predicted that Akin would be able to weather the controversy, comparing his resolve to that of embattled cult leader David Koresh. She said, "The first day or two where it was like the Waco, with the David Koresh situation where they're trying to smoke him out with the SWAT teams and the helicopters and the bad Nancy Sinatra records, then here comes day two and you realize the guy's not coming out of the bunker. Listen, Todd has shown his principle to the voters." Akin lost in a landslide. One of the more complicated sides to Conway is her relationship with feminism. When asked if she called herself a feminist at an event in February 2017, for instance, she told Business Insider, "It's difficult for me to call myself a feminist in the classic sense because it seems to be very anti-male, and it certainly is very pro-abortion in this context. I'm neither anti-male or pro-abortion, so..." What's curious about Conway's statement is she grew up in an arguably feminist household. She was raised by a single mom, her grandmother, and 2 aunts, one of which runs a catering business in New Jersey. Despite the strong women in her background, however, Conway continues to ruffle feathers with her questionable comments about women versus men. When asked about the secret to her success in breaking through to a male-dominated field in the male-dominated party, Conway told Time,
"My comfort level came in learning how to think like a man and to behave like a lady."
Even before entering the national conversation as a public figure, Conway had a way of getting herself in the spotlight, sometimes literally. Around the time of President Trump's inauguration, a video was unearthed showing Conway delivering a stand-up comedy set that concluded with an a cappella song. The routine was reportedly recorded at DC's Funniest Celebrity charity event in November 1998, and in the footage, Conway riffs on the news personalities and current events of the day. She's still the same fearless public speaker who is clearly comfortable in front of the camera, no matter the reception, and that probably won't change anytime soon. Because as Conway noted in a March 2019 interview with CNN, she's a fierce competitor when it comes to verbal sparring. Speaking about her rise to the top, she said, "I realized that if anybody was trying to throw logs in my path, they couldn't get past me speaking directly, one-on-one." Check out one of our newest videos right here, plus even more Nicki Swift videos about your favorite political players are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.